Hey guys, it's BJ, and welcome to another episode of my podcast, BJ Therapy. So before we begin tonight's episode, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who watched the first episode. Your feedback means the world to me, and all the positive reception I got makes me very, very happy. So thank you for everything. So today, we've got a very special guest. We've got my friend Jordan. Hey, Jordan.
Hi.
So the reason I wanted to bring Jordan on the episode is because she has autism as well. And I wanted to have a big discussion with her about what it's like for a woman to be autistic. And I wanted to see what similarities and differences we have. And hopefully we can break down a lot of stigma about autism and the gender. So Jordan, tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I am 18.
Yeah.
I am a first year at university at QUT, which is how I met BJ.
Yep. We met on the 5th of June at QUT.
Did. Oh my goodness, it was amazing.
Slay.
I'm studying a Bachelor of Business with Dean Scholars, majoring in International Business.
Talk a bit louder.
Closer?
Yep, closer to the microphone.
So I'm majoring in International Business, which is really exciting, and I'm looking at taking up a second minor in engineering.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Slay. Engineering to be more autistic.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's what we need. So Geordie, I want to ask you, when was the moment you realized that you were probably autistic?
That's a really good question. I feel like it would have been about halfway through grade 12. I'd gone through a really bad breakup and I'd started doing a lot of self-reflection and really thinking about who I was as a person. And I became so much more aware of the things that I was doing in my spare time and when I was with just myself. And it became really apparent to me that I was presenting with a lot of autistic traits. And so I started doing a bunch of Googling.
Yeah. So what were some of the major traits that you had?
One of the things that I found that was a really big thing for me was the breakdowns that got me.
Meltdowns?
Is I would just have massive meltdowns about the tiniest things that somebody would go, okay, freak, but it was such a big deal to me.
Like sensory overload, is that a big deal for you?
Oh my goodness, yes. I could not even handle certain textures and people would think that I was crazy. And I was like, no, this is like a big thing. Like this is going to drive me insane.
Because I feel like for me, when I was a teenager struggling with sensory overload, I used to cover my ears like this.
Yes.
I used to sleep with earmuffs on because I'd hear everything twice the loud of the noise of what it was.
Definitely.
So I'd sleep with earmuffs. There was one other crazy thing. Oh, that's right. Everything was super loud, super noisy in my head. It felt like I had a computer with 20 different tabs and browsers open.
Yep.
And so to navigate that, to calm myself down, I just close my eyes and visualize a computer screen. And I'm closing all the tabs at once, close that tab, close that tab, close that tab, and then there's just one left and I'm calm.
Oh my God, I love that. That's so helpful.
Yeah, it's a great strategy to use.
Definitely. I used to do a lot of performance in high school and I would have these special noise cancelling earplugs to bring the decibels down for when I was performing and I would just wear them all the time to block out the noise.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Because everything's really noisy for me. The other thing, my obsession with numbers. So something I wanted to tell you, when I see the word Jordan, I think of J is 10, O is 15, R is 18, D is 4, A is 1, N is 14, if that makes sense.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
J is the 10th letter. And then I think of the 10th of June, because J is the 10th letter of the alphabet. There's 6 letters in Jordan. And that was a Saturday this year.
Oh my goodness.
So every person I meet's a date number, and that's your date.
I feel so special.
But your birthday is also 2nd of December.
Yes,
And that's
Britney
Spears' birthday, exactly.
Yes.
Slay. Britney's on the spectrum.
Britney is amazing.
I love her so much.
Bye.
I'm just so impressed, how well you're doing. And it's just so good to see you owning who you are as a person.
Thank you.
And moving on from people who have treated you badly, because life is too short to waste your time on people who don't appreciate you.
Definitely. And it took me a long time to realize that too.
Mm-hmm. And I was saying in my first episode, there's 8 billion people on the planet, and when people treat you badly, that just motivates you and makes you realize how important it is to appreciate those who care about you.
Yeah, definitely.
Because when someone's horrible to me, I just write a list of all the people I love and who are good to me, and I write up lists of how I can add value to those people's lives.
Definitely.
So when people take from you, you can just give to other people.
And there are so many people that love you and care about you, and it's not until you sit down and you write those kind of lists and think about that sort of stuff that you really realize how many people there are.
Exactly. It just doesn't matter. The most important opinion you have is the one that you have of yourself.
Definitely.
Because you're the only person who will be in your life every second you're alive. It's so important.
That's so deep.
I love being deep. So how do you deal with judgmental people?
Oh my goodness. Well, for a big portion of my younger life, I would take a lot of that criticism and stuff to heart. I would be really hurt or really offended or really upset by the things that judgmental people had said to me or about me. But as I started to get older and I started to change friendship groups and, do a bit more of that self-reflection, I started to realize that surrounding myself with people who do care about me is one of the best things that I can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting how, like, for me, because I got severely bullied as a kid, I've noticed the way to make people like me is if I just become successful. And it's sometimes very sad when some people change the way they treat you when you start doing really well, like they start to suck up to you.
Yeah.
But also it can go the other way, and some people can become intimidated or jealous, particularly other men.
I've seen a lot of jealousy definitely when you start becoming successful.
Oh, yeah. And it's sad because you don't really know who your true friends are until you know when it actually, when it all comes out, if that makes sense.
Definitely. I feel like rock bottom and like right up high when you are succeeding are the two times when you realize who your real friends are.
Exactly. But I just feel like this year has been like the year where like I've realized who I really value the most and what sorts of people I value in friendships. So
how did you realize that?
I feel like that's actually such a good question. I just feel like I looked at the types of people, like what I did was I wrote a list of the 10 people that I spend the most time talking to, and I reflected on like how each of those people makes me feel when I interact with them. And then I compared that to the people I was like interacting with, say like 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I compared the two and I was like, wow, I have such a good group of people in my life right now, and I need to hold on to these people and give as much value as I can to these people because they really make me feel good.
Definitely. What changed?
I think that's actually a great question. I think I've became less afraid to like let people go and drift from people who weren't high quality, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because I got bullied as a kid. I used to always believe when I was younger that I should just be friends with everyone because I didn't have many friends when I was a child.
People pleaser attitude coming through.
Yeah. But then I got to a point where I was like, you know what? If people don't make me feel valued, why should I put effort into people who don't give me the time of day? And I look at all these people who give me lots of effort and they just make me so happy, and I just want to keep giving to them.
That's so sweet.
And I've also noticed like the people I spend the most time with right now are very, very successful. And it's like they're people who motivate me to become more successful myself. Because I feel like sometimes you'll hang around people who aren't very driven. And I've also noticed you can't really talk about your goals with people who don't have any goals themselves.
And I hate feeling like you have to not be yourself because they're not comfortable in who they are.
Exactly. Or if they don't have any ambition, it's like, how do you nurture them? How do you mentor them? How do you motivate them to actually do something with their life if they just don't want to do anything meaningful?
Yeah, definitely.
And I just like think it's so important to like hustle and have goals, and because having things to look forward to is what makes you happy.
I love having things to look forward to.
Like I was reading somewhere a few months ago, apparently like if someone's depressed, it doesn't mean they're going to be suicidal, but the dead giveaway if they could be suicidal is if they say they have nothing to look forward to. So when you have like a lot of things to look forward to, it makes it so much easier to like want to live and like enjoy your life.
Yeah, definitely.
And I have like a billion things to look forward to, and I'm just so grateful right now. I remember you were telling me the other day you were seen as an overachiever in high school. Could you tell me about that?
Oh my goodness. So I was massively an overachiever. I was involved in academics. I had a massive sporting life as well. I played hockey and I coached hockey and I was super involved. I was also involved in music. I was in 2 bands and I played a bunch of instruments and I sung. I also had leadership roles. I had 2 leadership roles at high school, plus 1 externally as well. And I was involved in the Junior Chamber of Commerce. I did everything. My week was always packed.
That's incredible. And what made you decide to be so productive?
I loved to sort of do new things and I loved taking up opportunities. So I just said yes to everything in high school.
That's like the best way to live.
Yeah.
And I just like, I love doing as much as possible. And like, I feel like you only burn out if you do things you don't enjoy. Whereas when you're actually doing things you're passionate about, you never actually lose your energy.
I loved every second of it.
Exactly. Like, I feel like when you actually do things you love and do things that add value to other people's life, you never get tired. And I just think to people who are like always feeling drained, you need to like reflect and be like, does what you're doing with your life serve you? And like always ask yourself, like, if money wasn't a problem, what would you do?
Yeah.
And then look at that career path and then think about how you could actually make money out of doing things that you're actually passionate about.
That's such a good point.
Because like money is important, but you also need to realize that like you can make money out of things you're passionate about. You just need to do some brainstorming. And I feel like a lot of people give up. They have a defeatist attitude because they see other people being negative and not believing that they can actually do something great with their life. And I think it's so important to like surround yourself with positive people who are looking to solve problems as opposed to trying to create more problems.
Definitely.
I also think a lot of people, like, you got to be careful of who you associate with. Like, I see there's like two types of people. There's warm-blooded people and cold-blooded people. So warm-blooded people get their happiness from making other people feel good, whereas like cold-blooded people get their happiness from making other people feel sad and sucking the happiness out of others because they don't know how to be happy themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
So you have to be very mindful.
I've definitely got caught with a few cold-blooded people.
They're not good. Ask me a deep question about life.
Oh my goodness. There's so many deep questions that I could ask you.
Or about autism or anything.
I'd love to hear about you first realizing that you were autistic.
Yeah. So I was 6 years old when I got diagnosed. And when I was in preschool, I didn't really have much interest in talking to the other kids. I used to just talk to the teachers, and I used to like sit alone and play with all the dolls, play with all the toys, be by myself. And the teacher was like really suspicious about it. And they'd always go to my parents and be like, we think your son might be on the spectrum. He doesn't really like interacting with the other kids. He keeps to himself. And then when I got to grade 1, I didn't really have any interest in sitting with the other kids at lunchtime. I used to just like talk to the teacher on yard duty. And I talk about Osama bin Laden, 9/11, news and current affairs. I wrote a letter to John Howard, former Prime Minister, when I was in grade 3 at school, and he wrote back to me.
I had like massive topics.
I had like adult, like I was interested in like adult things. Like I never really wanted to be a child when I was little. And like, I feel like I was only interested in things that adults were interested in.
Yeah.
And like, so when I was in grade 3, I wrote a letter to John Howard and I asked him to ban plastic bags in shopping centres. Didn't happen for another 15 years, did it?
No, it did not.
It was so cute. And do you know what I realized? I read the letter and it was actually, John Howard wrote back to me on the 21st of February, 2003, the day after Olivia Rodrigo was born. So
No way.
my future wife, Olivia.
Oh my goodness. I wasn't
love
even
that.
alive then.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it?
That is crazy.
But I've still got the letter at home and it's like very special to me because it's very symbolic of like my obsession as a child with like news and current affairs. Like what I used to do was I'd watch the news whenever a big news event happened, and then I'd pretend to be the Prime Minister of Australia and I'd pretend to do a press conference in my bedroom where I'm like briefing the Australian public on like how this issue is going to like affect them. Like for example, when the Bali bombings happened.
Oh my goodness.
Or like it was so cute. Like it was crazy. Another thing I did was in grade 3. Oh, that's right. This is really fucked. But when I was in grade 1, I used to put like a white towel on my head, run around the house, pretend to be Osama bin Laden. And then I'd like go to my bedroom, pretend to be George W. Bush, put on a fake American accent and like do like a White House briefing and pretend I was with all the other American politicians. And then I'd go to school and just slay and get bullied.
Oh my goodness, you were like a double agent.
I was crazy. So I just always had like adult obsessions. And then when I got to grade 3, we had like the Rugby World Cup. And because I read the news every day, I won the footy tipping competition. And the other kids were like shocked and like, how does this nerdy guy who talks to no one win? And then they were like, you're really good at this. Do you want to play sport with us at lunchtime? So all of a sudden I got accepted by the other boys at my school and they're like, do you want to play sport with us? You're really good at this. You have a lot of knowledge. And that's how I sucked up to the other kids and made them like include me in like sport at lunchtime.
That's so crazy. I never would have thought of that.
So it was just like such a cool thing to do. And then what else did I do? Oh, that's right. So like, how do you think getting bullied like has impacted your perception of the world?
I definitely think it comes back to that whole surrounding yourself with people who care about you and make you a better person.
Yep.
It changed a lot of my mindset, particularly about how I perceive myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely showed me the importance of making the most of every second of every day with the people that you care about.
Exactly. So my real name's Blake, and when I was in grade 1 at school, we were like at cross country, and the most horrible thing happened to me. So we were like running, and all the kids in the crowd were like cheering, "Go everyone except for Blake! Go everyone except for Blake!" And it was like so humiliating
Oh my goodness.
to see all the kids like put me down like that. And when I remember running in that moment, I was like saying to myself, "It's me against the world. Everyone is against me, so I have to keep moving forward and prove everyone wrong." And like thinking about that is like such a horrible thing for a 6-year-old to think. So I feel like that moment has definitely influenced me as a person, and it's made me realize that at the end of the day, only you can make yourself happy, and it's not your responsibility to rely on other people to make you feel good.
Definitely.
So yeah, it's quite deep.
It is.
What's an experience that you experienced with bullying as a kid?
I used to always get told throughout a lot of junior school particularly that I was really bossy and I was really annoying and I was really like headstrong.
I've experienced that.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I feel like you just don't realise. You're not very self-aware as such a young, especially when you're autistic, you're not very self-aware of what you were doing and what you're saying to other people. And so me trying to be a good leader and a good friend came across as this bossy, annoying bitch. And I got bullied for that a lot because I wasn't aware of what I was doing.
That reminds me of something I did when I was in grade 1 at school. So one day after school, I went to Coles or Woolies with my mum. And this is really bad, but there was this really fat woman at Woolies. And I put vegetables in her trolley and I took like all the chocolate and lollies out of her trolley because I saw she was fat. And I was like, I need to help this woman. And my mum had to apologize to her. And it was the most autistic thing I've ever done.
Oh my goodness, I did something just as bad.
Yes, what did you do?
I was, oh god, I would have been about 6.
Yeah.
And my family went for dinner at the Park Ridge Tavern.
Yep.
And I was walking out with my mum, my dad, and my little sister. And there was this guy smoking.
Yeah.
He was big, he was buff, he was fully tatted. And I walk up to him, me, all of 6 years old, and go, you really shouldn't do that.
I love that.
And I started telling him how bad smoking was.
I love that.
Little did I know my poor dad had to try and save me from getting beat up by this guy who clearly wanted to keep smoking. And I just thought I was trying to help him.
Fuck, I know, because that's the thing. You try to help people, you can't help people who don't want to be helped. I think that's the big lesson we have to learn in life, unfortunately. That reminds me, what else was something else I did that was fucked? There's something else I did that was very, very similar to that. Oh, that's right. So my grade 1 teacher, her boyfriend lived overseas, did long distance. And I went up to her one day and I'm like, I think you'd be so much more happier if you had a boyfriend that lived in the same city as you. So I just... I love how, like, as a 6-year-old, I knew long distance relationships were a waste of time.
Oh my goodness.
I was ahead of my time. I knew the truth. And like the other grade 1 teacher got engaged. So I was like trying to tell my grade 1 teacher that like she should marry me instead, and just break up with her boyfriend. Like I wanted to be a little
you were going for it.
I know. I want to be a homewrecker. Speaking of homewrecking, so when I was in kindergarten, I had a new wife every week. I used to like marry different women. And one day I got sick of this one girl that I married in kindergarten, and her mum came to pick her up in the afternoon. I said to her mum, I'm sick of your daughter. She's so immature. I'm going to divorce her and I want to marry you instead because you're her mum and you're just a more mature, wiser version of your daughter. And I just like asked the mum to marry me.
She would have been just so like... I'm sorry, what?
I know. I would just say the craziest stuff.
I love that.
And it makes life so interesting and fun.
Do it for the plot.
Exactly. Slay, slay. What's like a crazy thing you did during your childhood?
Oh, gosh. Definitely going up to the guy smoking was one of the weirdest things I've done. That's such a good question. I don't know.
I'll tell you something fucked, actually.
Tell me.
Okay,
Let's
so
go.
when I was in grade 6 at school, I brought vodka to school. So little 11-year-old BJ, we had to do an assignment on a foreign country, and I wrote about America, and we had to make food from that country. So I went home, got a mixing bowl, put some soda water in it, raw sugar, crushed up coffee beans and vodka, and I mix it all together and put it in the fridge. And my mum comes home, she's like, what the fuck is this? And I said to her, I'm making BJ cola for this assignment. And she's like, this tastes nothing like cola, it tastes like vodka. And so she goes to Coles, get a liter of Coke, tips it into the mixture, I take it to the school, and I go up to the teacher, I'm like, oh, there's vodka in my drink, I'm so excited, we're all gonna get tipsy. And like all the kids line up and they drink my BJ cola with vodka in it.
Oh my goodness.
Like 20 parents called the headmaster. They're like, was there vodka in this drink? And the teacher denied it, saved me, didn't want me to get into trouble. It's like, oh no, there's no vodka. I don't know anything about this. But they all got tipsy, but we all had a good time and we're all 11 years old.
Fun.
I know. I don't even drink alcohol anymore because I started early.
Yeah, that's
slay.
You had your time.
Exactly. In grade fucking 6, getting crunk with all the kids. I feel like, what were you going to say?
That makes for such a good story.
I feel like because I'm autistic, I get away with so much stuff. And I feel like in hindsight, I feel like I could get away with stuff that the other kids at school couldn't get away with.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the teachers, they have like this empathy. They're like, oh, he's autistic, he's different. He probably doesn't know any better. And you've got to use that to your advantage sometimes.
Definitely.
Because it gets you out of a lot of trouble.
It does. And I definitely think that comes from a lack of understanding.
Exactly. Like the thing that pisses me off about neurotypicals is when they assume that autistic people lack empathy. It's not true.
Oh my gosh, don't get me started.
And because there was that big misconception during my childhood that autistic people didn't have empathy, I was always told by adults in my life, BJ, you need to be more empathetic. And that like breaks my heart because like I became overly empathetic. So now as an adult, when someone I care about is struggling, I show too much empathy towards them and like make their problems my own problems when I really shouldn't do that. Yeah. So I think that's a big lesson I've learned is like, don't like be empathetic, care about others, but don't let their problems become your problems.
Definitely. I've done that a lot as well. I've let other people's problems like consume me just because I couldn't find a way to fix it for them.
Exactly. But you don't need to fix it if they're going to try and break you. So
Exactly.
Because like sometimes like trying to save someone who's drowning, you'll just drown yourself in the process.
Yeah.
That's why you got to swim between the red and yellow flags, not just the red flags.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
That's so
I love
deep.
that. That's so deep.
Exactly. I love deep stuff. Slay. So what's your advice for people who are dating autistic people?
Oh, that is a very good question as well. I reckon one of the biggest things would be take the time to get to know your partner.
Yep.
And take an interest in what makes them autistic, because all autistic people are different, contrary to what the media says.
Exactly.
We are all so different, and we all do different things. We all have different traits. We all stim differently. We all express ourselves differently. And I think that that's definitely something that people should take the time to understand. Like coming back to the empathy thing, I have something, I think it's called alexithymia.
Yep.
That is actually the inability to process and regulate your emotions. And a lot of my past partners haven't really understood that. And it will get to the point where I can't process an emotion, or I can't express my emotions even though I'm feeling them.
Yep.
And that was a really common point of frustration, especially if it caused me to have like a breakdown.
Yep.
Over that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. And also the whole idea that like some people assume that like autistic people are only capable of dating other autistic people, and that's not true at all.
I've actually never dated somebody else on the spectrum.
Interesting.
Before. Yeah.
And I find that very interesting that some people, it's like my Asian friends always get set up with other Asians. It's like so interesting that
so
people are
strange.
like that. Like it's not a request. It's just like people just speculate without actually asking us what we're attracted to. And like every autistic people are capable of dating non-autistic people.
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of stigma about it, and like shows like Love on the Spectrum that I'm very like not a fan of, because infantilizes autistic people. Makes them look like innocent, naive children when they're adults.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you're a non-autistic person, you're watching that, you're going to be like, oh, fuck, do I want to date an autistic person if they're like that? Like, when like they're not all like that. And I feel like in a way they're mocking autistic people.
Yeah, definitely.
For their own entertainment, because like, and that's the thing, because I've noticed a lot of the time in just the media in general, some people like laughing at other people's misfortune. And I feel like subtly the producers of Love on the Spectrum are mocking the autistic people and their struggles when they should be helping them.
And that's such a toxic way to be. That's such a toxic perspective to have on life.
Exactly. And I feel like it's just like they always have the same type of autistic people.
Yeah.
It's very stereotypical, whereas like we're all so different. And I just find it odd that they just want to like make them all the same and put them all in this box to fit the narrative that they're trying to present to the public who are watching it.
Definitely.
It's very sad.
It is. And it doesn't help. Like, if you want people to start to understand who we are as people and that we're all different, putting a group of people that are exactly the same type of autistic together on a TV show is not going to do anything.
Exactly. Has anyone ever said to you, oh, you can't be autistic because of whatever reasons?
Yeah, they have. I would mask my personality massively in high school. I was like a social butterfly, and I would like talk all the time, and I'd be always like smiling and happy, and obviously faking to the max and masking my personality to fit in with other people, and I'd reflect how they spoke to me.
Mm-hmm.
And people thought that because I was so social, there was no possibility. Like, no, she's not autistic. No, there's no way.
That's the same with me. Like, I remember when I was like 18 years old, I was at Woolies, and this I was chatting to one of my friend's mums, and we were talking for half an hour. Then she went home, and my friend said to her mum, by the way, BJ's autistic. And her mum was like, no way, BJ can't be autistic. He was really good to talk to. He's really good at talking to people. I'm like, that's not how it works. It's all different.
I know.
And she probably doesn't realize that I fucking read like 200 books on social skills to actually get good at talking to people.
I just mentally analysed all of my interactions with people for the first like 18 years of my life.
Exactly.
To be able to do that.
Or like, I like write lists of things to say to people to like make the conversation interesting. Like you'd rehearse stuff, you'd prepare stuff in advance. I love doing that.
You best believe I have a script for every situation in my head.
Exactly. Same here. I fucking love it. What's the other thing I did? Oh, that's right. I was saying to you before, because I don't drink alcohol, but when I'm around drunk people, I act drunk because I'm like imitating their energy.
Yeah, it's a very reflective type of masking. Yeah.
It's so funny.
It is. And like the more you act drunk, the more they start to act drunk.
Exactly.
And then it's like
I was out in the valley a few months ago with a friend, and we went up to a random and like have a guess which one of us is sober and which one's drunk. And they're like, oh, they point at me and like, you're the drunk one. I'm like, no, I'm the sober one.
No way.
I love it.
And it's so funny to watch them be like, are you?
Yeah.
Are you sober?
Exactly. And I just like love how like I said before, like if I talk to a 50-year-old, I'll act like a 50-year-old. If I talk to a 20-year-old, I'll act like a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the best. I think that's one of my greatest skills, that I have the ability to talk to people based on their age and like know how to converse with people and switch who I am to cater to that style of communication that they need.
And looking back, I probably did a lot of that throughout my childhood, and it's probably one of the main reasons why I got along with my best friend's parents. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I would talk to the parents and I'd be like, blah, 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 and like be reflecting who they are as people.
Pretty much every girl that dates me, their parents get obsessed with me.
Because you just mask and
exactly.
you're there.
Get the parents obsessed and they can't leave. It's a trap. The parents,
oh my goodness,
because the parents will end up liking me more than their daughter.
I've definitely.
It's a great strategy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's something you'd hope to achieve in the future?
Well, I have like a broad goal that I want to be successful, but I'm actually still trying to figure out what that means to me.
You'll get
and
there.
So I know that I want to help people.
Yep.
And I know that I want to do amazing things and support good causes, because I'm a very like morally driven person.
Perfect.
But I actually don't know where I want to end up.
I love how you're saying morally driven, because it's such an autistic thing. Like,
I know, my goodness.
like autistic people, like we have such pure intentions, but sometimes we express it in a way that might be a bit crazy and out there. And
I know.
I think it's just like sad how some people skip to conclusions.
Yeah.
But I love that you have that mindset and like you just want to give back to other people.
Definitely.
And, like that's what I love. Like helping other people overcome adversity always makes me feel good.
Exactly.
Because like you never know when you're going to go through a struggle and you're going to like need those people to like support you.
Yeah.
But also like when bad things happen to you, it teaches you how to like grow from it.
Exactly.
And when you get all that, like those experiences and knowledge from your bad experiences, you know how to like utilize those to help others overcome similar struggles.
Yeah.
And it's so good.
And it's only ever a big mistake if you didn't take a lesson from it. If you take a lesson from it, you're able to move on and become a better person.
Exactly. And that's what life's about. Just like becoming a stronger person, becoming more successful. And like I said in my first episode, I think like instead of comparing yourself to other people, you should just always strive to like outgrow the person you used to be.
Exactly. That's such a positive mindset to have.
Exactly. And like it's good to cringe at yourself. Like I said in the first episode, like you need to cringe at the person you used to be, because when you cringe at who you are in the past, that means you're growing as a person.
I look back at the person that I was even 12 months ago and I'm like, who was she? What was she thinking?
I was so cringe. But I love being cringe though.
It's like, it's a source of entertainment.
Exactly. And I think people need to embrace being cringe, because like if you're not cringe, like you're just so serious, and like if you're so serious you can't take a joke, you're going to get offended by everything.
Yeah.
It's just such a bad way to live.
I know.
And like everyone dies in the end. So like who gives a fuck if people think you're a bit crazy?
Do everything that makes you happy.
Exactly. Well, it's been so good having this conversation. Is there anything you wanted to add before we finish? 'Cause it's been so much fun and we're learning so much about each other. I'm so proud of you.
I've learned so much about you today.
I want you to do your covers on YouTube because you're a really good singer.
Oh my God.
We will help you get there.
Thank you.
We'll make you, and you can be my
so excited.
You can be my backup singer when I'm famous pop star.
Oh, of course. Please
Slay,
don't forget me when you're famous.
I definitely won't. Slay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to the podcast today. I'm so happy we had Jordan on. It was a big success, and we've learned so much about each other and learned a lot about autism. So thank you so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure you share this video with your friends, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next episode. Until next time, goodbye. Ilya Trilly. Love you so much.